Hello, this is Sam Hill, host of How I Came Up. And this week we have Reggie Key, CEO and founder of Canna House, which is a private social club centered around cannabis. We can't wait for you to hear his story. Now let's get to it. This is How I Came Up.
My name is Reggie Keith, and I'm from Buffalo, New York. I'm born and raised, baby. Well, growing up, man, I grew up in the Fillmore area, North Parade, right across the street from the Science Museum, man. I attended a Charles R. Drew magnet school, actually from like pre-K up until 8th grade. I'm also a performing arts graduate. Shout out to BAVPA, B-A-V-P-A, Arts Academy, all those names. And I attended Johnson C. Smith in Charlotte, North Carolina, man. Shout out to the Bulls, all black college, man, HBCU. Really love that experience. Growing up, I like to say that I lived like 2 or 3 different lives already in terms of chapters. As a young kid, I grew up in the church. Big shout out, Calvary Baptist Church. We converted over to Elam Christian Fellowship with the leadership of Bishop Troy Anthony Bronner. Big shout out to them. Bishop was a huge, foundational piece to my appreciation for language, oddly enough, right? His ability to articulate the word in a way that resonated with a young, teenage youth from the hood. That really resonated with me, and it's always stuck with me that you can do a lot with your ability to converse. And so big shout out to, again, Calvary Baptist Church, CBC, Elam Christian Fellowship. And so I was protected from a lot of trials and tribulations. My parents raised me really well. I come from a 2-parent home, older brother, older sister. So I was sheltered a lot, right, as a kid. And honestly, I wasn't prepared for the trials and tribulations of life. When I went away to college, again, in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that's kind of where I experienced my first, big heartache, first not being able to get back in school after sophomore year. The financial aid had dried out. There were no more loans. And that was my first experience of being an adult. Wow, the world is right here in front of me. And if I don't do what I need to do to survive, then, I could be swallowed up, and that was a big reality check for me. And then second, right in that same time frame, I lost my oldest brother, in a car accident. I was actually driving back from a family reunion here in Buffalo. And yeah, man, that really shook, my family. It shook, me, myself, but it really turned me into a man, right? I give my brother a ton of credit about being a big example of cool and how to walk as a man and stand on who you are. And losing him really put in perspective, how big of a void that was and how much he left behind, though, for me to do, right? And how much, I felt the pressure to make sure that I was successful, or at least I did the best with my life, because, he didn't have an opportunity to experience that. And so, I could go on and on, man, but those 2 big things really shaped my perspective on, valuing time in my life and really pursuing my mission. Yeah, man, my time in Charlotte was, it was a great experience. And, again, once that hurdle came where I was like, hey, man, you're not going back to school, right? That's really what hit me. It wasn't a junior year. It was, you probably should have handled this a lot earlier. And now that this thing is here in front of you, nobody can help you get back to school this semester. And so it was like, all right, well, you got to take at least a semester off. And that turned into 2 or 3 semesters off. And before I know it, I was a full-time employee trying to, manage my life without a college degree. And that just never what I had for my journey. I always saw myself as, being some kind of entrepreneur or a boss of some sort. And, it really hit me that I had set myself back. And so I went down the route of working a ton of jobs, man, and finding myself, and in that journey, I found some really dope friends, people that, again, loved me for me. It wasn't this history of, that's Renee's or Richard's son, or that's Rich's little brother. These people met me as an 18-year-old person, 19-year-old person, and they began to love me for the person that I was being. And that was a big part of me being able to like walk in who I am now. That's kind of like that journey into North Carolina for sure. All right. So the story of how Canna House came about. All right. So this is like truly a weed story. So there's like two parts. So shout out to, again, Crystal People Stokes. She hosted a Cannabis 101, right? She really sparked this idea that, hey, cannabis is coming. It's going to be legal. You guys need to get involved. And so I showed up there alone, and I saw people that were interested out of my, folks I had never saw before. And I saw my guy, Valentino Shine. It's my brother. We see each other. I'm like, oh, what's up? He's like, yeah, man, this is a good meeting, right? We talk about it afterwards. I'm like, yo, I'm telling you, I'm about to do something with this, man. I'm telling you to do something. No, man, I feel you. You should do it. You should definitely do it. All right, that's what's up. Thank you for the encouragement, right? So a couple weeks go by, smoking. Again, I'm like, I want to deliver cannabis for the medical companies, right? I got a medical card as a patient, right? If my mom's a patient or my brother's a patient or my aunt's a patient and they like their product, why can't I go pick it up as a patient, then go back and take it to them? Well, that makes sense to me, right? No, that's not how the law works. So this is my first introduction to like policy, advocacy, and understanding that, hey, there's rules are being written right now to how you're going to be able to navigate, right? I wasn't able to actually do that because I wasn't a registered organization, which is one of those medical, dispensaries you see around the city or in the state, right? There's 10 of those licenses handed out. If you're not one of those guys, touching the plant and moving it around is still illegal in the state, right? So I'm like, oh man, at this point, I did all my due diligence though. I'm online, shout out to Cannabis Training University. I graduated from there. I have a master's certificate in growing, operations, dispensary, delivery, right? So I learned all of these aspects of the industry. And I'm like, all right, delivery is my go-to. Find out I can't do that. And so I quit my jobs though. I'm working in corporate America. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do cannabis. Again, I see Shine, I tell him I'm doing this, man. So I'm like, I'm not going back to go, asking people for my job, man. I'm going to figure this out. And so I did, shout out to all my legacy operators out there. Just gonna say what's up to y'all. But, I understood how cannabis was operating in the underground industry or unregulated industry. And so as I understood that and got to explore, I said, hey, there's some room here for a gray area opportunity for us to gather as patients, and we can do some cool shit together, right? My mom and my dad been throwing parties since I was a kid. I know how to do a shindig. And so that was the spark that said, hey, if we can get people together, we can do events, just that. And so, as we kind of start to navigate with myself, I'm navigating through this idea of how to get this done. It starts to form into, hey, we need to get membership so we can protect people, right? We should start registering people up to be patients so that if something happens, we're all just patients gathering together and consuming our medicine, right? And so that was the first seed of how to get a membership going. And yeah, man, I approached Shine again. I told him I was I was getting back into it. And he was like, man, I'm proud of you. And one day I showed up with these really cool boxes, man. I had 50 unique boxes for influencer. I thought that would be the pivotal foundational members. And I went and delivered them throughout the city. And they were invited to the very first event we did, which was a puff and paint. And from there, man, it really just took on a monster of its own. And Shine quickly came to me and said, yo, remember when I was saying you should do that? Yeah, you need some help. And so literally that same story almost happened identically with my older brother. Shout out to, again, Rich Keith Jr., Chef Rich. And so together though, after we kind of figured out we all wanted to be invested in this, we came together, man. We really started to grow out from events again to these other avenues of education, product production. Chef Rich came in with the Urban Jane secret sauces. And so, yeah, we've just been developing again and maturing into an industry ready entity.
Man, peace, what's good, y'all? Man, y'all ready for the Lazy Susan Canna House Drumwork collab? And I hope so. We here.
Yeah, man. So what you're looking at here is our commercial kitchen. I am the founder and CEO of Canna House. We are a cannabis-centric social club, right? We curate and host activity-based events, right? So anything ranging from cooking with cannabis to a murder mystery to a kickball game or puff and paint, right? All these things kind of our full gauntlet of events. We're a membership-based club. Just got up to about 2,500 members, so we're really excited about growing our community. And it's centered around servicing the consumer, right? Whether that be a product, an event, advocacy, education, content. We want to be able to house that cannabis information in product or service for the community. And so what you see here is our commercial kitchen. From those events, we were able to really focus on getting a flagship product, which is our Dirty Lemonade, here above my left shoulder, also here on display, along with our Urban Jane secret sauces. So we have a sauce line and a lemonade line that are big products that we push. We want to get a distribution set up with a manufacturer and processor here in New York State. So, we're just moving in the direction of being a mature cannabis company. And I always say, you got to be like water. So when we first started out, we really wanted to do delivery. And then we turned into a consumption club. And then we got into products. And here we are getting into potentially, manufacturing more products and getting into distribution. So we're just learning, you gotta go with the flow. And yeah, man, that's where we are here today. We're lucky enough to be at 27 Chandler Street. If anybody gets a chance, come on through. Imagine starting something essentially that already exists, but the rules in order to execute on a legal level change your whole operation, right? And so the hoops we've had to jump through as a startup business in general, capital, community support, building out your customer base, understanding how to write a business plan, right? Those things exist, right? And those are going to exist for anybody who starts a business. But then we go into, like you said, legislation and regulation. And these are things that are still being developed. And so, I'm not a big glass half empty guy. I really am an optimist. I really do believe there is a solution for every problem. And so for me, I just see these as opportunities to grow and be a better leader in the space and of course for the company. So yeah, we've definitely had our battles in terms of, again, probably our biggest thing is, just understanding what legislation is going to look like. What is the legal law for a cannabis company who wants to be, the leader in on-site consumption, right? And so, but in learning that's in the process, we were able to actually get into the meat and potatoes of actually writing policy, right? We've got a white paper that we proposed and rolled up to the OCM, right? So this gives us the opportunity to not just go, hey, these things are happening to me, but now I can go make things happen because I saw how this happened to me, right? It just means that somebody else is making this happen. Why can't we be the ones, giving this directive? And so, we learned a lot in terms of just being able to, navigate the industry in a mature way. It's solely dependent on relationships, honestly. But that's based on, how you present yourself in the industry, what you say your values are, what you stand on, what your mission is, all defines, what kind of resources you're going to have access to. And then once you have access to them, it's about, what you do to use them to your advantage. And so, we've been able to do that. And, I'm proud of the team, man. We've been able to really develop out some great relationships through our network, and they've really been paying off. Yeah, I got to shout out the folks that helped me along the way. It started with my friends, man. I get money with my friends right now. We do business together. So shout out to my brother Shine. Shout out to my older brother Rich. Shout out to my 96 Bulls family, Guns, Salt, man, Snake, Mo, Free Mo, man. You know what I mean? This is real family, you know what I mean? And these guys showed me what it was like to be a man. They were all a year, 2 years ahead of me in school. So I got to see these guys like move around and walk in their essence. And I always was like, man, I want my hat to sit like that on my head. I want my cool to feel like that. And so that was my first real like adaptation of like seeing what the men were doing around me. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my late great pops, man. Shout out Richard Keefe Sr. He is the blueprint for me, man. All that you see is 90% him, and then those influences that I'm talking about, you know, they came and put the sprinkle on top. But you know, essentially, I am truly my daddy's son. You know what I mean? So big shout out to Big Rich. And then as I've gotten to my professional career, shout out to my uncle Larry Stitt, my auntie Jackie. They own a coffee house here in Buffalo. Shout out to Kat, who also owns the Empty Cup, who's a big mentor to me, just kind of getting in the industry and giving me the opportunity. Locations around here. And my big sister, Dashida Dawson, the weed head, man, literally, I would not be what I am in cannabis today had it not been for her tutelage and her putting her arm around me. And, you know, I say the best for last, my girl, Crystal People Stokes, the Assemblywoman, the great one, you know, the godmother, they call her. Again, first person to really take me serious about being a operator in the industry. And she really gave me a lot of tutelage about, you know, how to navigate this arena. And I'm forever grateful for her. So thank you for the opportunity to shout those folks out, man, for real. So yeah, man, we've had quite a lot on the docket thus far this year. We started the summer really, which is our event season with Summer AF. Our first event was Informed AF, which was a watch party for our partners out in New York City on the Revel. They are on Revelry 12, and so we were able to host this conference series where they had these dope individuals from the industry getting all this insight and game on how to get started in the industry, being resources, giving their free information out and time out to assist. So it really was a dope environment. Shout out to the Rec Room downtown. They were able to host us and let us do some really cool things, man. So that's what we're about. Again, community partners. And so our next event actually got postponed, which was going to be Healing AF. We really think the community can use a ton of healing, you know, just especially our community after what happened at Tops and that despicable shooting. You know, we really wanted to make sure that we gave back and tell people that we think cannabis can be a vessel to helping heal, along with these other holistic approaches. So yoga, massages, painting therapy. We had a group therapy session with some Black mental health specialists, which will still happen. I promise this will still happen. You know, we really want to focus on that manufacturing deal. We're going to be prepared to get into, our goal is to get like 30 to 70% of the shelf space in the retail world, right? If we can do that with our beverage, we really believe it sets us up to be, you know, one, have a cash flow, but two, really show validity in our method of business and our strategy. And so, you know, that gives us leverage in these deals as we're starting to, you know, get real partners in positions that can, you know, help us grow and scale. All right, so anytime you want to reach us, guys, please reach out to Reggie, no Reggie on IG. That's my personal IG. the second, so THE, the number 2, the letter N and D, so the second _ house on IG. That is our IG page for Canna House. We are canna-house.com. Sign up and be a member. It's still free right now. Please go ahead and sign up. We're looking to get many folks into the club while it's still free. And of course on Facebook, you can find us, Canna-House as well. And then look out for the fellas. You know, your boy Shine is on IG, as well as Highly Flavored 80 is Chef Rich, and Richard Keith, and your boy Shine on Facebook. So yeah, man, hit us up anytime. It's in a DM, 716-235-3434. That's also our text line number. So if you got questions, somehow DMs don't work and our phones ain't work, our emails aren't working, you know, feel free to text us. We'll make sure we get you somehow. My name is Reggie Key. And this is how I came up.
Hello, this is Sam Hill from Success in Me. We are excited to announce Season 4 of How I Came Up will air this November. We have educators, entertainers, and entrepreneurs this season. We can't wait to share their stories. Now let's get to it. This is how I came up.